Star Fox 64 is a video game where you fly in a spaceship and shoot lasers at bad guys. It's also one of the best games Nintendo has ever made. It has this great arcade feel where no matter how much you've played it, you can always come back to it every once in a while and still have a great time. It just has this longevity to it, which is very impressive for a game that's now old enough to buy scratch tickets. It's surprising to me that Star Fox 64 has aged so wonderfully considering how dated many Nintendo 64 games are starting to look. That's not to say I don't love the console and even the aesthetics of many of the games, but when you start the main game, you have a small amount of exposition to help get you into the plot, which is pretty much a reboot of the first game on the SNES, so you don't need any prior experience of the series to understand it, which is a big plus. You are then thrust into Corneria and told to get rid of the antagonist's army run by a villain of the series, Andros. The game wastes no time getting you into the experience. There's no tutorial stage you have to go through every time you want to start up a playthrough. Instead, they put a training stage on the start menu, so you can learn and understand the way the R-Wing works, or refresh your memory if you haven't played in a couple years like me. By doing this, they don't have to have Peppy show up every couple minutes and go, "Hey Fox, you know if you press C to the right you can give me a shake at Wendy's?" Sure, sometimes your teammates will tell you to do something with a small icon prompting you on what button to press to do that action, but it never feels off because the icon is so small and non-intrusive, and many of the things that your teammates will say all sound very natural and don't sound like they're trying to teach me anything. In a situation like this, for example, it would make sense that my teammate is wanting me to brake so I don't hit a rock. He doesn't want me to have an accident.
Don't mess up that R-Wing!
Speaking of your teammates, you're given a small introduction to them when you enter Corneria. Even though they only say a small sentence each, you still get an idea of what their personalities are like by what each of them say to you.
Falco here. I'm fine. This is Peppy. All systems go.
The teammates actually add a lot to this game, more than I think people give them credit for. Without them, you'd just be a lone wolf, and the game would feel a lot more empty. Their little dialogue clips just make the game seem so much more alive than it would without them. Although I could stand for a little less of them begging me to help.
I'll take this one. Get the one behind. Take care of the guy behind me, Fox. Time for a little payback. Shoot! He's right behind me. What's taking you so long, Fox?
Whoa! Help me! Hey!
The voices all fit the characters, and even though the acting isn't very good, I feel like that adds some charm to the game. It's a cheesy story about space animals flying planes trying to beat a monkey head. The B-movie type acting just fits, even if it wasn't intentional. Nintendo did an amazing job designing Corneria. There's so many different environments you get to visit on this planet, starting with an open mountain area, then proceeding to a destroyed city, followed by a lake, a waterfall, and ending with the ocean. You'll notice that in most planets, the levels tend to look the same from beginning to end. The developers put so many environments and two separate paths into the stage because no matter what custom route you're going on throughout the story, you're going to start with Corneria. So they directed a lot of effort so it would be fun every single time you play, and they succeeded heavily in that. You might notice that I mentioned routes. After Corneria, you come to a fork in your road, and depending on how you finish the level, you can either go to this area in deep space, or the Cocoa Puffs. They both take you on different paths, one of them being easy and the other being harder that's meant for more experienced players, with a couple planets in the middle so you can convert your path and find a route that you really enjoy. These planets in the middle also keep the game from just being two paths that you zigzag from. This makes it so you can bypass planets you might not enjoy going to. However, to be able to create the route you want, you're going to have to get a good result on your mission. You see, there are two ways to beat a level: mission complete and mission accomplished. Getting mission complete pretty much means you didn't play the level correctly. Maybe you missed an alternate path, or you got spotted by the searchlights, or you let Peppy eat all the chicken fajitas. If you let any of this happen, you're forced down the easy path with no control over it. You and your teammates survive, but it's not how anyone wanted it to pan out. If you get mission accomplished, however, you're rewarded the freedom to move not only up towards the harder paths, but also get to stay on the path you're already on if you so please. The two main paths you can take mostly vary on how many points you get. Star Fox at its heart is an arcade game where the goal isn't so much beating it as it is about getting the highest score. So there's a small trade-off with the easier path having less points, but the harder path having more. However, even though one gives more points, both paths are equally fun for me to play. The game gives you a big incentive to shoot almost everything you see in it by giving you a medal if you get enough points. Just a chance of getting a little visual flair on a planet I visited makes me want to try to get as many strings as I can with my charge shot and destroy as many enemies as possible. However, they did still focus a lot of attention on making completing the story feel satisfying for if you want to just enjoy a nice and simple on-rails game. And maybe you can still find something to brag about. Yes! I beat all the easy route without dying once! I'm so fucking good!
pretty smooth flying, Fox.
The Light system really feels alive with all the planets you can visit. Almost every stage has an enemy that is exclusive to it, and not a single planet feels like a reskin of another, which is a great feat considering how limited you are when designing an on-rails game, and with such limiting hardware as the N64 to boot. I actually forget that this is an on-rails game very often. Even though I'm really just going through a straight corridor for 90% of the game, it never feels to me like I am. They truly did a great job of immersing me into the environments of the world. Just little things like my R-Wing making some small waves while gliding over the ocean, or the shadows and shading the R-Wing gets on certain levels to blend in more with each stage's color palette. Having some subtle things like this goes a long way with getting me more immersed into the experience of your game. The music adds a huge amount to the game as well. Its soundtrack was composed by Mario and Zelda composer Koji Kondo, and while those games have a goal of having memorable and melodic tracks in them, Star Fox 64 is much more subdued and ambient a lot of the time, adding just a bit more atmosphere to a lot of the planets, although the game doesn't shy away from having some fanfare every once in a while with a couple tracks.
We've got the bad guys on the run.
Don't worry. Lippy's here.
The R-Wing is just a joy to control. It's so responsive, and there's a decent amount of options you have for moving around, like boosting, somersaults, barrel rolls, and cockpit mode. Making what you're controlling fun is one of the most important things when designing a game, and they got the R-Wing just right. There are some planets where you get to use other vehicles, but they really just seem like afterthoughts to me, and I don't really enjoy playing them at all.
How's the Blue Marine, Fox?
It's a submarine that feels like the R-Wing that takes forever to move, but it doesn't blow my bubbles too much.
How's the Landmaster, Fox?
Fucking awful. All the movement that I love about the R-Wing is completely changed to this obnoxious tank. Aiming feels like holding a live salmon, it takes 25 minutes to move to the fucking right, not to mention my teammates are up in the sky dicking around, and I'm down here with my thumb up my ass, but they still have the nerve to ask for help.
Shoot! He's right behind you!
It's like, why did you even come? Do you think I need emotional support? I don't. I'm fucking Fox McCloud. I'm not a big fan of Macbeth? 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 Okay. I'm not a big Dave Matthews Band fan of Macbeth either. A lot of people really enjoy this stage, and I guess that must just depend on if you like tanks or not. I mean, the tank doesn't even control off its intention. It wants to control like a tank, and it works. But the problem is that I don't want to drive a tank. I want to be in a spaceship. I don't want to be Land Fox. I want to be Star Fox. I don't even enjoy fighting the boss of the stage very much. There's all this shit shooting at me. Peppy keeps talking to me while the boss keeps trying to eat me. I can't hit him because he won't calm down. I try to move away from his attacks with my frame-perfect evasive maneuvers, but the Landmaster's like, nah, give me a while.
I've taken a few hits, but I'm okay.
Well, I'm not. Look at how fucked up this is.
You are so lucky, Fox.
To want to die? In any other game, this wouldn't be that bad. It's just that up to this point, I've been having so much fun.
Get out of my way!
And even though this doesn't bring it to a halt, it definitely feels like overdosing on Ambien. If I was giving this game a score, I wouldn't even take points off for this planet. As I've said, I've seen lots of people say this is one of the highlights of the game for them, and I definitely respect that. It's all just taste really, it's just not for me. If there's anything I do like though, is that there's two unique ways you can kill the boss. You can either drag yourself around everywhere and hit all the switches so he'll eventually go off course and crash his train to a wall, or you can shoot him until he dies. And even though I feel nothing from killing him, this mechanic is pretty interesting. Enough of me being a curmudgeon though. My favorite planet is definitely Zonas. There's just so many things to shoot at to rack up a lot of points. I like the kind of dreary oil rig vibe as well. It's also home to some of my favorite music in the game. Everything on this planet just feels satisfying, from shooting the searchlights to maneuvering through the ships and I just fucking love this game. There's also a minor character that comes in this stage named Kat, who will help you out a little bit. Her music that plays when she shows up is another one of my favorites as well.
Take the right hand, boy. I have the left.
Cat, what are you doing here?
The boss is also the cat's pajama. When fighting him, he can only be damaged by shooting bombs at him, which you have a very limited supply of, so to compensate, almost all his ammunition can be shot at with lasers to give you more in case you run out. And you're taught throughout the game that it's very important to conserve bombs due to their scarcity.
Use bombs wisely.
So getting this one point to go ham is a lot of fun. Every stage has some aesthetic that separates it from the others, like this one where you protect the city from a flying saucer. You also get another NPC to help you out in the stage named Bill, and everything he says makes me laugh my ass off.
Enemy mothership approaching. Fuck, that's one of ours. Bill, is that you? Take care, Fox. Yeehaw! You did it!
I'm also really fond of this moment in the asteroid belt where you go through these kind of booster things, and you end up in this really cool hyperspace area with colored blocks and lots of enemies forming in these really cool little shapes. The whole game is just full of moments like these at every turn. The planets all feel unique and interesting in some way, and that, mixed with the great controls of the R-Wing, just bring this game all together into something really special. Not to mention the bosses all have really great designs. They're almost all huge ships that just feel so good taking down. They even gave voices to almost every single one, although you can tell they were a little bit rushed, like this guy.
Cocky little freak!
So you finally make it through all the planets, and now you're at your main destination, Venom. This giant planet has two different stages depending on what path you went on. The first version, from the easy path, is pretty standard with a small mini-boss. However, the hard path, instead of an on-rail stage, is a fight with Star Wolf in all-range mode. This is one of the highlights of the game for me. Getting to fight your alter egos and their upgraded ships is just fantastic. And while you do get a chance to fight them at Fortuna, they're ridiculously easy, and each member can be beaten in seconds. Oh, sorry, I paused here because I fucking sneezed everywhere. This fight before Andros is so much more challenging. They'll do things like reflect your shots with barrel rolls, or if you try to get the upper hand on them by doing a somersault, they end up flying away really fast, so it's hard to catch up with them. You feel like these are pilots that are equal to you and your teammates in skill, which just makes taking one of them down so much more satisfying. I'd be lying though if I didn't say this fight can be really frustrating. There's so much stuff you have to deal with, from trying to keep Wolf off you, to getting health packs from Rob, trying not to hit these structures on the planet, and again, all my teammates are screaming at me while I have like 2 fucking hits left. I've noticed that this fight is actually ridiculously hard if you're using an N64 controller with a worn out stick. This is due to the fact that you can't completely go in one direction, which you need to be able to do in many situations in fighting Star Wolf. Once I started using the second party Hori controller when recording this footage, which is known for having an amazingly responsive joystick, I was able to beat Star Wolf with Falco gone, fucking up Slippy halfway through, and with the lowest level laser in the game. It's sad that using the main 64 controller makes this so frustrating. If you do this fight with the lowest level laser on that controller, you might as well break off your wings too.
We'll make sure you never reach Andros.
Both the versions of Andros start off the same, however they both have second forms. If you took the easy path, he turns into a robot head and dies if you press B. However, if you take the hard path...
Only I have the brains to rule my life.
This fight is actually really fun. Having you destroy the eyes, and then having to hit the back of the brain while he constantly teleports away, it's a great final boss. And after the frustration of Star Wolf and many of the other areas on the hard path, it's just so fun and satisfying to finally take him down. Sorry, Andros. Looks like your brain dead. You should have taken a cognitive science course. Then you'd be smart enough to beat me. Your left lobe can suck my left nut. Fuck you, Andros. As I'm recording this, Nintendo just had their fucking stupid E3 presentation, and aside from the insultingly boring delivery, them constantly reminding me about the fact that they did in fact create Super Mario Bros. In 1985 for the Nintendo Entertainment System.
We've been working together for 30 years. Super Mario Maker.
Super Mario Bros. Celebrating its 30th anniversary in 2015. Where you go next? Best Buy stores in the US and Canada.
We have a lot of these planned.
And having the designers not be able to have Link be a little high up.
A 4-player totem was too tall, so we decided 3 was the better choice.
They did give a bit of info about the new Star Fox game that they were teasing last year. I was a bit upset that Shiggy wanted to spend 10 minutes talking about how cool arches are instead of giving some more info though.
When there's an arch, you want to go under it, right? That's the kind of game I wanted to make. This place is known for the row of arches. So we went with this idea to create a game where you would fly through different arches. Star Fox is a game where you use a control stick.
I know that! The game still looks really fun, and I'm definitely going to try picking it up when it comes out. I'm still a bit cautiously optimistic though. I mean, none of the games after 64 have really lived up to it in my eyes, and Miyamoto has had some pretty questionable opinions on game design as of recent years. However, I do still retain a lot of hope that it'll be a great game. I just hope I'll get to spend most of it in the Narwing, going to many unique planets, shooting charge shots for extra points, and getting to have a lot of fun. And as long as I can do that last thing, it'll be a great experience.